They whisper that a Deathworlder once survived, being swallowed alive and then asked for more. The remark struck the chamber like fire in dry grass. Every alien present quivered, clicked, or shifted, in doubtful unease. Yet none looked away. The tale about humans had been sweeping through the academy like a storm of sparks, shared in fragments, murmured in bunks, and stretched further with each retelling. Most cadets had never glimpsed a human, though they imagined one would be obvious. Taller, louder, hungrier, some creature, shaped by crushing gravity and endless storms. None of them noticed the quiet figure, resting by the curved wall, hands folded, dark hair draping across her eyes, as though she cared for none of it. The chamber was a study hall, tiered in arcs, walls alive with shifting panels of bioluminescent script. At the center hung projection of star charts, though the lesson had long since collapsed into rumor and chatter. A scaled very leaned on its tail, tongue flicking. I heard their world rains acid every season, and only the strongest endure. A cluster of thin-framed Urian clicked mandibles. No, their gravity would flatten us into paste. It said their bones are stronger than ship hulls. A horned Jelkin smacked the table with a claw. Fools! The truth is clearer. Deathworlders know no fear. That is why they're thrown into the hardest wars. Mira sat still, breathing steady, listening. She knew this rhythm well. Each retelling added another code of myth. Every exaggeration turned her people less into persons, and more into monsters hiding in starlight. She could have corrected them, told them Earth was filled with sunlight, oceans, music, and arguments over coffee. But the academy was no place for honesty. Silence was safer. It was almost amusing until it wasn't. One of the Urian twitched its antenna toward her. What do you think, Mira? You are always silent. Perhaps your kind has seen one of these Deathworlders. She lifted her eyes slowly, feeling their weight. Her voice, when it came, was calm, nearly soft. I've heard the same rumors you have. Nothing more, nothing less. They accepted, turning back to their speculations, forgetting her once again. That was the odd talent she had discovered. Humans looked ordinary enough that with silence, she slipped unnoticed. None guessed. The very being they feared sat within reach. The Jelkin was not finished, however. It leaned closer, voice low and secretive. The instructors say a Deathworlder is here, on this very campus, brought to see if it can be trained. A murmur spread, uneasy. The Verity hissed with alarm. Here among us. That is madness. The Jelkin's eyes gleamed with delight. Madness or genius? Imagine studying beside it. Imagine if it lost control. Mira's stomach knotted, though her face was still. She had been chosen for her ability to vanish in plain sight. The Galactic Council wanted proof that a human could endure the academy, could pass its trials, master its systems, show that humanity was more than rumor. But her peers were never told. To them, she was another exchange cadet, from a bland world in the outer rim. The secrecy was meant to shield her, yet often it felt like a snare. The stories grew wilder. One claimed Deathworlders breathed poisonous air. Another swore they hunted beasts, bigger than starships with sharpened sticks. The Urian shivered, mandibles clacking. I heard they can stare into your mind and drag out your worst memories. Mira nearly laughed at that one. The only thing she could sense in others was how loudly they spoke. She shifted her weight, letting her eyes drift over the chamber. Above them, the map displayed shifting borders, conflicts glowing in red. The academy prided itself on shaping diplomats and tacticians, yet its brightest students whispered, like children huddled by a fire. And she was the ghost they spoke of. Her thoughts slipped back to earth, to rain striking pavement, laughter in kitchens. The ache of homesickness coiled in her bones. She had never thought of herself as lethal, But here she was seen as a predator, born from a cursed cradle. The contradiction made her chest tighten with sorrow and humor alike. The Jelkin slammed its claw again. If the Deathworlder is here, it must be found. We deserve to know who shares this hole. Its tone carried weight, and many nodded. A ripple of unease swept the group. Mira kept her face blank, though her pulse quickened. If they pushed the instructors, if the truth came out, everything would shift. Instead she rose. The motion was small, but every eye followed. "You all claim certainty about so much," she said, her voice even almost distant. "But has anyone here ever met one?" Silence followed. No one replied. She let it linger, then sat again. The tension thinned as attention drifted, each cadet trying to outdo the others, with taller tales. Yet a few eyes lingered on her, curious, suspicious, unsettled. Mira folded her hands, breathing slow. She would have to tread carefully. The storm of rumors was swelling, and the longer she remained, the closer they came to truth. The whispers did not fade in the days ahead. If anything, they gathered like thunderclouds, spilling through every corridor. Hallways buzzed with speculation. Lecture halls filled with murmurs. Before teachers even arrived, even the mess hall rang with stories of the Deathworlder in their midst. Mira learned quickly to move with care, to listen without betraying herself, to wear her stillness like armor. She blended at meals, chewing slowly, as her peers spun impossible tales. Humans drinking molten metal to keep warm. Humans outrunning atmospheric flyers. Humans ripping apart war machines barehanded. It stunned her how many could speak so boldly about something they'd never witnessed. A pattern revealed itself. The more fearful species leaned toward dread, painting Deathworlders as fiends of hunger and rage. Others admired them at a distance, shaping them into myths of strength. Both visions made her skin crawl. She could not decide what was worse, being feared like a beast or revered like a weapon. One afternoon her study circle met, in a chamber of living crystal, walls glowing with a slow, steady pulse of light. It was meant to inspire calm. Instead, the talk coiled again around the mystery. Who among them might secretly be the human? "Perhaps it is one of the tall races," suggested the Vera, tail twitching. "Their size alone could conceal such origin." "Nonsense," snapped the Jelkin, eager as ever. "The Deathworlder would show itself in drills. None of you possess the silent precision such a being must carry." Mira kept her eyes on her notes, her pen steady, her silence unbroken. Heart steady, pencil tracing idle shapes. A curious Urian tilted its head. "Mira, you speak little, yet see much. Tell us, what would you do if the Deathworlder sat beside you?" The query was bait designed to spark either fear or bravado. She closed her notebook, folded her hands. "I suppose I would do as I do with all of you," she replied, softly. "Listen, learn, and survive the day." Her answer eased most, though the Jelkin narrowed its eyes, sensing hidden depths. Later in the training halls the tension grew sharper. Combat drills placed squads of mixed species against drones designed to mimic hostile forces. Mira moved with care, never too swift, never showing her full edge. She knew she could outrun, outlast, outthink the drones with ease. But disguise demanded restraint. She stumbled once on purpose, feigning clumsiness. A Verity hissed at her mistake, and she accepted the rebuke. In silence, the performance was fragile, and its weight grew heavier each day. In the locker alcove after drills, Mira overheard two Jelkin cadets, their gravel voices low. "The Deathworlder hides among us. Can sense it. The instructors test us with its presence. Then we should expose it, force it to show." Their laughter was sharp, eager. Mira fastened her jacket and slipped away. Before they noticed her listening, That night sleep evaded her. She lay on her bunk, eyes fixed on ceiling panels, their glow shifting through gentle patterns, meant to coax rest. Instead her thoughts looped the rumors, each one heavier. What if they uncovered her? What if the truth came out too soon? She pictured classmates' faces warping. From curiosity to fear, from camaraderie to suspicion. The thought hollowed her chest. Next morning the academy assembled. In the grand hall, a vast dome filled with endless rows of cadets. The high instructor addressed them, speaking of diplomacy across stars, of the need to face what was strange and frightening. Mira sat among thousands, hands clenched tight, listening as he wove a pointed reminder. There are species born of hostile worlds. To know them is to test the limits of our own understanding. The crowd shifted uneasily, murmurs rippling like waves. The rumor now sat in official speech. After the assembly, her study group crossed the academy grounds. The very leaned toward the Urian, whispering just loud enough. Did you hear? The Deathworlder may walk among us. The Urian clicked in alarm. If so, it has studied us, learned from us. That is dangerous. Mira inhaled slowly, stride steady. The Jelkin matched her step, eyes narrow, measuring her silence, her every breath. At the dorm entrance it growled low. If I find the Deathworlder, I will challenge it. Only then will we see if the legends are true. Its gaze lingered a moment longer, then turned away. Mira exhaled as the door sealed. She sat on her bunk, listening to the hum of the academy, hand pressed to chest. She felt her heartbeat. Steady, human, fragile yet fierce. They told tales of creatures unbreakable, yet here she was, already weary from hiding. How much longer could she keep it unseen? And what would happen the day someone looked past rumor and saw her truth? Tension deepened as weeks passed in a rhythm of study, drills, speculation. Mira had honed invisibility to an art. Not too fast, not too strong, not too clever. She let others take credit in exercises, nodded in agreement while swallowing the sharper questions in her mind. But rumors only swelled, and with them, the sharp stares of those eager to prove themselves by unmasking the hidden predator. During a planetary survival test, the mask grew harder to hold. Cadets were dropped in squads. On a barren training world, Nidland, all jagged cliffs and howling winds. Their task: build shelter, signal for pickup. Within 3 days, Mira's squad stumbled. The Verity wanted to burrow. The Urian pushed to weave from brush. The Jelkin argued for brute force caves. Their clamor lasted until the first night. Cold and merciless, Mira watched frost bite their gear, listened to shivering complaints. She knew she could fix it in an hour. If she dropped her act, she forced silence until the second night, when the wind sliced through thin covers. The youngest Urian sagged, mandibles weak. Mira exhaled and finally spoke. We need the rock walls. Build into them, not away. The stone will trap heat. The others froze. The Jelkin scoffed, but followed when she began hauling stone. Soon a crude barrier took shape, a corner shielding them from the wind. Mira moved with practiced ease, layering brush and soil until the shelter held. By the second dawn they had warmth. No one thanked her, but eyes lingered longer. The Jelkin's stare carried suspicion. The Verity hissed about unnatural skill. Mira kept her face still, though inside her heart pounded. She had shown too much. When the training world released them, the shuttle bore them back. Whispers clung to her down the gangway. Too calm, one muttered. Too precise. The Jelkin's growl rumbled like thunder. Perhaps we have found it. Mira bit her tongue, walking faster, refusing to let her shoulders tighten. Days later, during combat drills, the trial arrived. Squads were sent into the arena against drones designed to adapt. Their tactics each round. Mira fought. With care, striking just late enough to seem ordinary, never exposing the full speed coiled inside her muscles. But in the last round, a drone feinted toward the Verity, then veered for the smallest urine. Reflex overcame thought. She moved faster than she ever had, catching the strike mid-motion and slamming the machine to the floor with a twist that made metal shriek. The arena froze. The urine trembled, unharmed. The drone sparked at her feet and eyes widened all around. The Jelkin stepped forward, voice thick and heavy. Deathworlder moves like that. The words spread through the squad like fire, their suspicion sharpening. Mira forced herself to breathe steady. She crouched, studying the broken drone as if nothing remarkable had occurred. Anyone well trained could have done the same, she said calmly. Yet the doubt in the air clung to her like smoke. That evening, whispers tracked her through every corridor. Cadets who once ignored her now stepped aside, eyes fixed on her. In the mess hall, voices hushed. When she sat, a urine even shifted its tray away. The name had begun to stick. The Deathworlder among them suddenly had a face, hers. In her dormitory, Mira pressed her palms against her. Is weary. She had never asked for this part, this endless disguise. Only wanted to study, to glimpse what the galaxy offered. Yet every step made her both more and less than they imagined, more capable than they knew, less monstrous than they feared. But for them, nuance meant nothing. Fear was simpler. The next day, the high instructor declared a new challenge. Full squad mission in the outer training zones where natural hazards mixed with simulated combat. Mira's name was set beside the Jelkin, the Verity, and the urine. The Jelkin's eyes gleamed at the list. For it, this was an opening. For Mira, it was a warning. She would have to survive not just the trial but the hunger of her peers to unmask the predator they imagined. At the transport bay, the Jelkin leaned close, growling low. In the wild, secrets cannot stay buried. I will see your truth before the trial ends. Mira met its gaze, calm, though her stomach knotted. Around them, others adjusted gear, blind to the threat. The transport doors hissed open, and the squad stepped into the unknown. The drop ship released them into the outer zone with roaring engines and a spray of dust. The land was harsh, jagged. Ridges, black stone, air so thin it burned. They carried rations, signal beacons, and training blades. On paper, the task was simple. Survive 3 days. Evade drones, complete the objectives on their scanners. But the ground beneath their boots told a harsher truth. Mira breathed deep, letting the thin air sting her chest. Survival was easy. Hiding was. The Jelkin seized command, barking orders, driving them hard. The Verity slid across rocks, antenna twitching for drones. The urine clustered in nervous ears. Mira followed quietly, saving her strength, scanning the terrain. Step pulled memories of Earth's mountains. Sharp rocks tearing boots, storms rolling, sudden and merciless. Her muscles remembered long hikes, brutal climbs, through cold rain and biting wind. By nightfall, the others stumbled, gasping. Mira shouldered their packs, pretending it was nothing. She reminded herself not to reveal too much, but kindness outweighed caution. On the second day, the trial hardened. Drones swept down in packs, red eyes blazing in the dusk. Blades clashed with metal. Mira fought at the edges, holding back, letting the Jelkin dominate the fight. But one drone slipped past, streaking toward the smallest urine again. The creature froze, mandibles clicking in terror. Without hesitation, Mira drove forward, slammed her shoulder into the drone and smashed it against the rocks. One swift strike cut it down, sparks flying. Silence followed, broken only by the Urin's shaky breath. The Jelkin's growl rumbled. Whoa. Again, too fast, too strong. Size fixed on her, suspicion turning to certainty. The squad regrouped, uneasy, their glances sharp with doubt. At night they camped in a shallow hollow. The Jelkin stood guard, but Mira did not trust its stare. She slept light, waking to the scrape of claws. By dawn its plan was clear. It summoned the squad blade. Pointed. She is the Deathworlder. I will prove it. Challenge her now. The Verity hissed in alarm. The Urin backed away. Antenna quivering. Mira stood calm, though her pulse thundered. No threat to you, she said evenly. But the Jelkin lunged. Its claws cut wide, power ferocious. Mira's instincts ignited too deep to suppress. She slipped aside, parried, struck when forced. Her body moved with precision forged on earth, where even survival demanded discipline. In moments the Jelkin lay pinned, her blade at its throat, the ground scarred. Around them, the squad stared silent. Mira stepped back, lowering her weapon. This is what you wanted? Then listen. The stories you whisper are about my people. I am human. I am the Deathworlder. You fear. The words hung heavy in the cold air. The Urin shivered. The Verity is. The Jelkin, pride wounded, snarled but could not rise. Mira's breath came steady. You think us beasts? You're wrong. We survive, yes. We endure what others cannot. But that is not rage. It is necessity. Unearth storms. Predators, sickness shaped us. We did not choose it. Made us clever, stubborn, human. Her tone softened, almost pleading. I am not here to hunt you. I'm here to learn beside you. If survival frightens you, perhaps you should ask. Silence stretched. Last, the Verity lowered its tail. She saved us. Fear does not change that. Small Urin clicked softly, then nodded. Even the Jelkin, seething, said nothing. The rest of the trial passed under that truth. They worked together, though. Unease lingered. Mira no longer hid. She bore the heaviest loads, cut the hardest ground, tore through drones with skill none could deny. By the third day, when the extraction beacon pulsed and the transport returned, the squad lived. Because of her. That truth was indisputable. Back at the academy, the instructors knew. They did not reveal her identity to all, but the squad knew, and through whispers the tale spread. Now the story had a face. Not a phantom beast, but a quiet girl with dark hair, who had walked among them. Fear did not vanish overnight, but bent into something else. Curiosity, awe, reluctant respect. Mira walked the halls no longer shrinking. She had not wanted exposure. But now that it had come, she would not. The galaxy wished to know what a Deathworlder truly was. They would see. Not a weapon. Not a monster. Human. One who endured, yes, but also chose compassion. Even when survival alone would have been enough. Pierce still whispered, but the words were shifting. No longer just monsters or myths, but questions, possibilities. For the first time since her arrival, Mira felt something lift. The mask had fallen, and what remained was not fear but truth.